People think heroin's only affecting the suburbs and other white areas, but that is not true. You definitely see it on the west side. A lot of the way that I recognize where they're selling heroin is because I'll see a bunch of gentrifiers from Pilsen or East Garfield Park who then come to the rest of the hood looking to buy drugs, and then what we get in turn is even more policing. The same police who killed Rakia Boyd in my neighborhood, killed Laquan McDonald, who's from West Garfield Park, are out here trying to solve the drug epidemic when it's really a public health concern. It's not for them. And so whether or not you're from our neighborhood using heroin, like, we're paying the price and no one's getting help. So one thing that really sticks with me, for instance, my mom had driven to go to a neighborhood store, right? Parked a little bit down the block because it wasn't parking right in front. And when she came back to the car, someone had nodded off on heroin, like right next to it. And they're sitting really close to the car, and that's like a pretty normal, that's not really a shocking thing. Like, people nod off like around. But it is not something you want your little brother to see. It's not something I want my little brother to see, be exposed to. It's not something I want to see. I want these people to have options, healthcare options, housing options. But for those who do have addiction problems, it's so much harder to recover when you're on the streets.
Similar to drug addiction generally in America, usually our addictions are treated just with policing and incarceration, and not so much with treatment and with compassion.
Who's eventually prosecuted for possessing or using drugs depend on how people enter the system, which is through policing. And we know that policing is one of the most racially biased aspects of our criminal justice system. In Chicago, almost 40% of the charges in Central Bond Court are drug related. And of the people in Central Bond Court, 73% are African American, despite the fact that African American people make up only 25% of people in Cook County. So jail can be dangerous to people who struggle with drug use, both in the jail. Many people can die from complications related to withdrawal, and also because after detox or withdrawal, people have a lower tolerance, and so it's actually upon release that they're often at a greater risk of overdose. So it's just so apparent the way that we're choosing to use our resources. There are resources to invest in communities that we have historically neglected and actively harmed, and we're choosing to spend that money incarcerating people from those neighborhoods in the prison system. Cook County Jail is the largest single-site jail in the United States. And overall, Cook County spends $330 million every year on the jail.
And the city, under Rahm Emanuel's direction, is planning to build a $95 million police and fire training academy in West Garfield Park, a predominantly African American neighborhood on Chicago's west side.
Rahm Emanuel announced the plans to build this on July 4th weekend when people were celebrating, and he thought no one would notice. But the people everyone always underestimates notice. It was the youth. We want this $95 million to be spent in a way that the community has decided. We've been surveying residents, and of those we've spoken to so far, over 90% are asking for greater investment into community resources, including housing, drug programs, health programs, job programs, community centers, youth programs, and schools.
From a treatment perspective, it's important that people are in recovery in community, in the environment that they're ultimately going to live in. So it's impossible to learn the skills that are needed to be in recovery if you're in a completely artificially controlled environment, if you're in custody like the jail.